The Maelstrom's gone, and they're getting rid of the Tower of Terror, and there's rumors that they're going to get rid of Ellen, and there's rumors that they're going to get rid of Journey to Your Imagination, and Innoventions, and they're going to, like, get rid of the Wonders of Life building, and everything's changing, and I don't know where to draw the line. And that's actually a really good question. Where should I draw the line? So recently I got a question during one of my Disney Q&As that I thought was fantastic. I thought it was so good, it deserved its own video, and so I wanted to talk about it today. It comes from Imaginography71, who, by the way, if you don't, check him out on Instagram. Some of the greatest Disney World photos I've ever seen. He's a great photographer. But he asks, with all of the recent rumors and suggestions and changes, you seem to be somewhat okay with all of them. What is the proverbial line in the sand for you? What kind of change would it take for you to be against? Replacing Pirates or the Haunted Mansion? Good question. And it's one I was actually thinking of before you even asked it, because I did find that as all this news came out for, these Disney changes, whether it's about a rumor about Ellen getting replaced with the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster, or the news about the Tower of Terror change over to Guardians of the Galaxy in California, which I sort of defended through a video, I started to ask myself, like, am I just becoming like a Disney yes man? Am I just agreeing with everything for the sake of agreeing? I would think not, considering how recently that I just put out a video sort of like trying to rip apart Disney Enchanted Tales, which I think is an awful game, and I think Disney's whole path to gaming is awful. But we're talking about the parks here, and it made me wonder, what is the line in the sand? You know, as that question asks, where would I stop supporting their changes? And here's the answer that I came up with. And I don't know if it's going to be an answer that people are going to find acceptable, but it's what I think when I think about the issue, so it is what it is. And that is, the line in the sand has nothing to do with what is being replaced. It has everything to do with what is replacing it. I am a strong believer, and I've said this online, and I don't think I've said it in a video, but I'm saying it now, that there is no ride in any Disney park that is too sacred to be replaced. I don't care if Walt built it with his own two hands. I think everything there can be replaced with something. That's right. Pirates of the Caribbean, Small World, Haunted Mansion. Think of your favorite ride. I do think there is something that can replace it. The key is, and the important part, and where that line in the sand comes from, is what's replacing it. It has to be worthy of replacing it. I'm not the biggest fan of, Mission Space. And part of the reason for that is, well, one, I just don't think the ride's that amazing. But two is it replaced Horizons, which to me is potentially the best Disney attraction in the history of Disney, at least in my opinion. And so because of that imbalance there, it does sort of make me feel bitter about Mission Space a bit. And so really what replaces it is more important to me than what's being replaced. And the hard thing there is, like, how do you know the quality of what's replacing it until it's out and open? And so that's why I try to keep a very open mind. When Maelstrom was announced to be closing for a Frozen ride, I defended it. And that was because we hadn't seen the ride and I didn't know if it was good or not. All I knew was how much I liked or didn't like Maelstrom, which it was declining every year. And that was just setting the bar for Imagineering to, sort of meet when they replaced it. I had ridden the ride recently. I think it's great. I think that is a great replacement because I actually like that ride more than I like the Maelstrom. Now, there's news of the Tower of Terror getting replaced with the Guardians of the Galaxy ride over in California Adventure. People hate this idea. And to be fair, Tower of Terror, like compared to Maelstrom, is way better. So there's a much higher bar that they're going to have to meet or exceed before I can call that a good replacement. The other element that I think is very important with an issue like this is long-term planning. If I feel like Disney is making a decision that has no long-term plan at the root of it, then I'm sort of not going to be behind it as much as I would be if I think there is a long-term plan. Now, if we want to talk specifics, I think the Tower of Terror news is a good idea on that front because I do think there's a long-term plan there. This news came with heavy rumors that area is going to be the beginning of a Marvel land over in California Adventure. Now, the idea of replacing this with a Marvel ride standing alone at the end of Hollywood, I think it's Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard. I don't know the names of that area that well, but having it, this sci-fi ride in the middle of this classic Hollywood area makes no sense on its own. However, if it is the gateway into a Marvel land, it makes perfect sense. And that's sort of why I'm okay with that. You look at things like Frozen. That we're not seeing the long-term plan right away, but I think we're going to see it soon. And that's why, I mean, at this point, I like the ride just because I think it's a good ride. But on top of that, I think we're going to see a real shift in theming when it comes to not only World Showcase, but Future World. I think Epcot itself is going to go under a very big identity shift. And so I think there's a long-term plan there, but I don't 100% know. At that point, I wasn't 100% on board with the idea until I rode the ride and enjoyed it. If you want an example of something I'm not fully on board with, it's Pandora in the Animal Kingdom. I think that was a decision made without a long-term plan in mind. Now, I'm not a big Avatar fan. There was nothing there before, so really low bar for, well, they replaced some things, but like, I'm not a big Animal Kingdom fan, I guess I should say. So there's a really low bar for what they have to exceed for me to enjoy the ride. But I don't see a long-term plan there because Iger's entire business model up until now has been to purchase IPs outright. If he thinks Star Wars is worth it, he bought Star Wars. He bought Marvel. He bought Pixar. So doing this sort of like 90s era-esque deal with, you know, Avatar, James Cameron, to bring a land over to the Animal Kingdom just seems like they needed to put something there and they didn't have anything, so they just outsourced it. And so that's why it doesn't sit well with me. Again, I'm keeping an open mind. I want to see what it does, and so, you know, we'll see. But, you know, I know out of all of the sea of positivity for all of their announcements and rumors, you probably wanted to see something I'm not so on board with. Just look to Avatar Land. Ultimately, though, I don't think you're going to see me very often complaining or hating on news of a new attraction coming or an attraction closing because I have faith in the Imagineers. You know, this is a park that I've been going to since I was a child, and I've loved it. I've loved the rides that were there. And I have no reason to believe that I won't love the new rides that are there. I mean, there are going to be some I love more than others, like, you know, Carousel of Progress and Stitch, or, you know, but at the end of the day, I love change. I love change a lot. I'm excited for change. I have fond memories of a lot of these rides here. You know, let's take a hypothetical, Space Mountain, because I know this would be a controversial one to pick. I love Space Mountain. I've been riding it since I was a little kid. I enjoy it. I love going through the queue. I love the post-show area. I love the ride itself. I've loved it in its different forms as I've grown up. And if they replaced it tomorrow with a new ride, none of those memories would go away. I'd still have them to look back upon fondly and to sort of build upon my memories of going to Disney as a whole. Now, if they replace it with a new ride, there is potential there to make new memories. And so then, you know, 10 years from now, when there's a new roller coaster there, say, let's say a Tron coaster, right? I can have the memories of the Tron coaster that I love and Space Mountain. And to me, that is more valuable than just holding on dearly to the one memory that I value in fear that it'll go away. All memories, you know, nothing lasts forever. They're going to go away eventually. And so I feel like there's just no point in just trying to desperately hold on, especially when it's something like Disney where, you know, they're a business, and these are decisions that, you know, cost them millions or hundreds of millions, if we're talking about parks as a whole, of dollars. And so starting an online petition to save something like Ellen's Energy Adventure is not going to save Ellen's Energy Adventure. You got to accept that when they announce something's closing, like the Tower of Terror thing most recently, it's going to happen. They're not going to just change their mind. That doesn't necessarily mean that what's replacing it's going to be better. But, you know, I don't know, why waste energy getting upset over something that I can't really change when I could just keep an open mind and see if it's good. And if I like it, I'll like it. And if I don't, I don't. You know, I didn't like Stitch when it replaced Alien Encounter. But that didn't really ruin my Disney trips, didn't ruin my time. And, you know, eventually Stitch is going to get replaced and there'll be something new there. And, you know, it's just the constant cycle of new things are exciting to me. So I figured I'd put this together because this would take up half of a Q&A. I thought it was a really interesting question, and it's one that I want to turn on to you guys. Where is your line in the sand? Maybe Disney's crossed it already. Maybe the Tower of Terror was just too far. Maybe there's a classic ride where you say, I'll get on board with replacing anything but that ride. Let me know in the comments below, or you can let me know on Twitter. I'm at RobPlays. Again, thank you to Imaginography for asking this fantastic question. Check them out on Instagram. I'll throw a link in the description below. Some fantastic Disney photos. I want to thank you all for watching. If you want more Disney content, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button. I do 3 videos a week. I also do a Disney podcast called the Tomorrowland Transit Authorities. You can find that over at ttapodcast.com. Have a great week. Whatever you're doing, make the most of it, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.